Many blessings, my loves. My name is Rebecca, and this is my full moon report for Pillars of the Moon. So, welcome everyone. How are you all doing on the full moon energy that's building and this solar eclipse energy that happened 2 weeks ago? That has been so big, like so much coming up to the surface, so much collective shifting and changing. So yeah, this full moon and the culmination of this cycle is going to be very watery. We've got our full moon in Pisces on Thursday, and then we've got our last quarter moon in Cancer the week after that. So there is a real healing happening with this full moon joined with Chiron and Eris. And there is a real returning home with the last quarter moon in Cancer. So it's a healing of our feelings, of our emotions, of our waters, of our sensitivity, and returning back to our home, our source, the mother within. And so, yeah, I'm going to jump into the live sky with you all just to show you the alignments with the full moon. Then I will share with you a little bit about Eris after that. So the full moon exact time will be 12:26 on the 17th of October. That's the GMT time zone. So when we're looking at astronomy in the live sky, you can see that this is the full moon here in constellation Pisces. And it's very closely aligned to dwarf planet Eris. And where we're going to look up Chiron as well. Chiron is right side by side with the moon. So this is quite a powerful full moon coming up on Thursday. Because, with the energy of Pisces and the waters, and Chiron and the healing, and Eris all connected to conflict and dispute. I'll go more into her in a moment, but it's a really big energy around this full moon time. And Uranus, you can see, is closely aligned to Algol as well. Oh, where's Algol? There we go, Algol. Really closely aligned to Algol at the time of this full moon as well. So lots of stuff coming through around that. We're going to go over to the sun, which is still in constellation Virgo in the live sky. So we can see the sun is aligned to Bohemian star Spica in constellation Virgo. I want to say one of my favorite stars in the sky, although I have lots of favorite stars in the sky. But this particular star, is really about the gifts of the harvest. It's about it bestows blessings, and so when we're thinking of, the full moon energy conjunct Chiron and the sun aligned to Spica, it's like there's a blessing and a miracle, even a gift, miraculous gift that comes from, like, the Virgo energy at this point in the sky. It's about the harvesting of the old year. If you look in her hand, she's holding the wheat, she's holding the herbs that she's harvested, and Spica is aligned right over that, so it's about when we are harvesting something, we are destroying the old life. The old cycle is complete, and now that we are reaping what we've sown. So there are gifts and things that can be gathered from the ending of the old cycle. Old healing can be integrated, and we can move forward with a new vision, a new dream. So also the Raven constellation Corvus is obviously the stars of the Raven. The sun has passed over this constellation now, But I've been feeling the Raven energy really strongly around this full moon. So I'm going to share a little bit more about why, because I'm going to show you an image of Eris here. I'm hoping you can see this. This is an ancient Greek vase, cup, bowl, and this is an image of Eris. And you can see here she is pictured with wings. So she has black wings, so that reminds me of the raven and the connection to the other world and magic and mysticism and the dark and the unseen and the hidden. And the sun just crossing over Corvus in the constellation of the Raven really activated that. I live in a house called Ravenscroft, and we often get the ravens circling round in what we call a murder. Whenever they do that, it always grabs my attention, and I go out and I listen and I watch and I feel, because there's some great magic that's happening in that moment. And so the energy of Eris and the raven and the dark and the mystery and the depths of the unseen realms, connects also to the energy of Morgana Le Fay, the Morgaine, who was also connected to the raven and sometimes changed herself into a raven. So in the story of Eris, probably one of the most famous stories of Eris, is that, so she's known as the goddess of conflict and dispute. She starts drama, she disrupts the status quo. She's often not invited to the party because she causes havoc and disruption and arguments. And so I'm giggling because it's funny, because the way that I perceive her is that she shows them in the stories their own inner shadow, their own inner conflict that's hidden under the surface. So in the most famous story, or one of the most famous stories of Eris, is the story when she doesn't get invited to the party. She's the baddie that nobody wants there. She's the parts of our psyche that have been demonized and, chucked out of the garden, similar to Black Moon Lilith energy. She's the dark feminine that shows us ourselves, shows us our shadows. And, she doesn't get invited to the party because everyone wants peace and celebration. But quite often, there's big fat elephants in the room, and those elephants represent, all of the stuff that isn't being said and all of the hidden conflict inside. So anyway, this wedding that she didn't get invited to, she decides to show up anyway. And she throws a golden apple into the middle of all the gods and goddesses, and she says, "For the fairest of them all, or the most beautiful." And all of the goddesses, are arguing over who gets the golden apple. The golden apples, going to that, they are connecting to the other world. They're a symbol of immortality, knowledge, and wisdom. So Eris has the apple. She's the one that brings the apple. So it's like she is bringing to that party of gods and goddesses, she's bringing an invitation to deep wisdom, to the other world, to immortality. And so she's showing them, she chucks it in the room, and all of these arguments, erupt. But, if people at the party, the gods and goddesses, weren't in their ego, if they wasn't in their pride or their competitiveness, there would be no conflict, right? So in a way, she's just bringing to the table what people aren't admitting or showing, or what we're not displaying to the world. And so also the the golden apple comes from the garden which is connected to Atlas. The comet, or the Garden of Eden, Garden of Avalon, another connection to Morgan Le Fay. So the garden, another connection to Lilith and the apple, it's all connected. So the Hesperides are daughters of the West, and they're the guardians of the orchard of the golden apples of immortality. And that garden is protected also by Ladon, the dragon, who's protecting these amazing apples, right? So these apples are protected by the dragon, which is also a connection to the eclipses. It's also a connection to Lilith, the serpent energy, the Kundalini, so wow, so much has been coming through. So the Atlas comet, which we can now see if it's a clear night over the horizon, just after sunset in the west, you may get a glimpse of the Atlas comet. We won't see it again in our lifetime, 80,000 years, I think it was, until it comes around again. So this is a really special Atlas, and Atlas was the father of the Hesperides, who were the guardians of the golden apple. So you can see how the connection to Atlas and this comet is activating Eris in the golden apple story for me to share with you in this full moon energy. And Atlas is also connected to maps. The Atlantic Ocean is the sea of Atlas, and we've been seeing like lots of changes with the waters and the floods and the storms, the rains that have coming, and Atlantis as well, that Atlantis that sank, is also known as Atlas's Island, so Atlas was also known to be holding the celestial spheres. So he's connected to philosophy, astronomy. Some people say that he even invented astronomy, and he's the holder of the heavens and the sky for eternity, so he's a pretty amazing, in the mythology of what Atlas's role is, so reconnecting back to the garden, to Lilith. Black moon Lilith is opposing this full moon as well in Virgo. So, that which has been banished from the garden, that hasn't been invited to the party, is actually the thing that holds our key to knowledge and wisdom and immortality. And Lilith was said to tempt Eve with the apple, to eat this apple, and how it, caused all of this. I don't have to go too deep into all the stories about that. But I think the reason why it's all coming up now is because these energies are all really prevalent now in what we're seeing in the world. It's like Eris is showing us the elephant in the room. It's wanting us, it's making us look at what's hidden underneath the surface. What is the inner conflict? What is the inner turmoil? What is that which is chaotic inside, which is then affecting our world? And Eris is said to cause arguments, but actually I think she is like I want to say the Raven Queen of the dark, who enables us to witness that of our shadow, of our collective shadow. And she's offering us, the key to the garden, the golden apple. She's saying, that this is your key to wisdom, into integrity, and to grow and to gain knowledge of all of yourself, and all of the parts of you that you are banishing and that you don't want to include. It's like they're all coming up to the surface now, especially around the time of this full moon, as we're coming to the end of this eclipse season that we've been in. So Anything else I wanted to share about Eris? I think that's all I want to bring through about her for now. So thank you, Eris, for being here and showing us ourselves, showing us that which has been hidden. So I'm going to jump into the chart for you all. So this is the full moon chart. So 17th of the 10th, 12th, 26th. So you can see the moon in Chiron. I haven't got Eris on my chart, but we know that Eris is here because we've seen it in the live sky. And so I've written here, it's like hidden wounds and stuff that's beneath the surface, excluded parts of ourselves. And it's like in opposition to Black Moon Lilith, who's conjunct Juno, like this feels like the energy of Lilith is really activating kind of like the darker, untamed desires of Juno, Juno being the wife or the mother, like the feminine energy. It's like she is being invited, through the energy of Lilith to find healing and well-being through embracing our wild side, our primal nature, and and tapping into navigating power dynamics, power struggles within relationships, because back to the story of Lilith being Adam's first wife, and she wouldn't lay underneath Adam, and so then he married Eve because she would. So Black Moon Lilith energy, is really about autonomy and equality within relationships. She's a symbol of sovereignty and divine feminine power, actually. So we love you, Lilith. We love you for being in opposition to this moon, because we could be having a lot coming up about power dynamics, or is it, autonomous, and lots about in square too. We've got this T-square still happening with Ceres, who's in Sagittarius. So I've mentioned about this a lot before, abandonment stuff, motherhood, nurturing, and exploring our beliefs. In Sagittarius, it's like we're looking at boundaries, we're looking at truth, we're looking at the ways that we have abandoned ourselves, or that we've been abandoned, or we are exploring our psyche here, and in square Pluto, who's just started going forward after his retrograde. Pluto is now, here he is, he's now going forward in Sagittarius. So right at the end of Sagittarius. So we are now seeing a shift in the Plutonian energy, which is taking us into, he's going to be moving back into Capricorn again soon. So Pluto's in square to this full moon, who is in square to Mars, who is in square to the sun. So, and there's this energy of like a grand cross energy, which is happening. So it's bringing a lot of intensity. And I feel like the energy of Pluto in square to this, it's like a tension to transform. It's a tension and a challenge that we have to move through and look at that which has been hidden beneath the surface, to address our inner Eris or our inner Lilith, and embrace our wild primal side, and really explore the power of nature, the power of the feminine. When we had all of these huge storms, in the last few weeks, in Storm Helen, and all of these people that I know, Verone and River, and having your houses flooded, and all of the things that have happened in that side of the world, it's like it was happening in the time of Navratri, which is the time of the goddess, and singing to the goddess and the mother, really expressing our gratitude to her, and what it shows us is the power of the feminine to wipe out things, to take out worlds. The Isle of Atlantis sunk under the ocean, it's like the water, the feminine has the power to destroy worlds, to take everything out, and we have become so far away from our relationship to her, with the exclusion of Lilith and Eris and all of these archetypes, which we have banished from our world, so they're not welcome at the party, but they still cause conflict. They can cause great wars because they are still there. So they may not be invited to the party, but then they're just chucking an apple, which causes a huge eruption, because these parts of us, when they're not allowed space to be, acknowledged and present, they will unconsciously and subconsciously create drama and conflict in the physical, that feels out of our control. So Pluto in square to this full moon, it feels like power, the power of the water, the power, because the in square to the Pisces energy, it's like the power of the ocean, the power of the collective subconscious, the power of the collective shadow, Eris, and how when we're collectively not working with that energy of the Kundalini, the divine feminine, the serpent, the Shakti, when we're not honoring and inviting that great power into our being in a conscious, loving way, it can wipe out worlds, and it will. And she has done, for millennia. So, what I feel this energy is about for this full moon. So we have a eye of God. So we've got Neptune in sextile to Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces. So these two energies who are sextiling each other, like I felt like Neptune and Uranus is like it's expressing our ideals and aspirations in a higher frequency for the earth. Like I feel like this energy of Uranus at Algol as well. I was sharing about Uranus at Algol is retrograding here. So this to me feels like, because Uranus brings sudden changes and awakenings for the earth. So just like Eris throwing an apple in to the room, it's like if there's stuff under the surface that isn't being addressed or voiced or hidden in some way, it's like there could be an Eris chucking an apple in to shake up the status quo, to say, actually, that's not autonomous, that's not fair, that's not balanced, so she is showing us our shadow collectively. And I feel like, and as well with the energy of Uranus at Algol connecting to the serpent mysteries and Medusa, the head of Medusa, there's so much like serpent energy and dark feminine energy going on with this full moon, with the moon opposite Black Moon Lilith as well. It really does feel like an invitation into our sacred, sensual Shakti power, the energy of the serpent and the waters, and how, we can acknowledge and love our shadows. We can work with them and explore them and integrate them. We can embrace our wildness to release that inner pain and that inner tension. And this is the shadow work. This is about emotional pain. And we could be feeling a lot of rebellion or seeing a lot of rebellion as well in this energy, because Lilith, she walks her own path. She doesn't have to fit in with the party. She's on the outskirts. She is sovereign being. So really, I feel like the Juno energy, like being like the mother or the wife, it's like this energy of that which has been married and tamed, and like the Eve energy in a way, like it's been locked in a cage. It's the tiger that's been caged, and Lilith being with Juno, it's kind of like it's like tempting Juno out of her cage to really express herself, and connecting to the earth and the physical and the herbs and the medicines with the Virgo energy. I feel like that could be really helpful, around this time, because the energies are very intense. They're very emotional. We're being asked to address our wounds, to really embrace our wildness, to look at the tension inside our body and the conflict and how it's creating like hidden worlds underneath the surface. This is a real invitation for healing and well-being of our body, and yeah, exploring ways that we can nurture ourselves and mother and take care of ourselves. And that could feel like a challenge, if we have beliefs around, not being worthy of that care. And so the full moon is in sextile to Jupiter. So I feel like Jupiter, who's just gone retrograde in Taurus, there's an opportunity to really do healing and growth connected to our worth and valuing our physical body and our well-being, to really, yeah, create self-love and beauty and expand into that, into the healing that is available for us. And yeah, back to Neptune and Uranus, who are in sextile, creating this yod facing towards Black Moon Lilith and Juno. It feels like there is an energy of, expressing our higher ideals and aspirations and using the energy of the divine, wild, dark, feminine to express that. And that could bring an element of healing. We could be using like practices like dance or shaking or art, singing, however it is that we can, express ourselves and move this energy so it doesn't feel stagnant inside our body. We could be having, with the Virgo energy, it's very much about like health, so we could be having sessions like massage or acupuncture or osteopaths, really attending to our body, really attending to our well-being, and, acknowledging the brokenness. And with Saturn, who's in retrograde in Aquarius, is making a trine to Mercury, so I feel like this is an energy of like really, it feels like the doctor, Mercury in Virgo here, it's like kind of an energy of like a doctor or a herbalist, or like the and it's very good with like numbers and figures and strategies and figuring things out, so I feel like Saturn, who's in trine to Mercury, this could be a really good time for doing like writing jobs or bookkeeping or getting things in order. We could be sorting out timetables or schedules or making plans. So Mercury in trine to Saturn, it feels like there's a really positive energy there as well, to be using our mental capacity to, yeah, start making some plans for the future, Aquarius, for our community, for our collective, for humanity. And yeah, making a plan of like seeing, what it is that, where we need to put the work in, what we need to change, what we need to collectively shift, what we need to break out of, what we need to transform, and reconnecting to the power of the earth and the divine feminine and the waters, and really honoring that, and coming more into relationship and connection with that. And then we can heal, and then we can create more structures that are for well-being, for our healing, that are collaborating with the wild nature, with the wildness of the earth, and really like coming into more harmony with that. Because I feel like as a collective, we have become so detached from that part of our being. She was sent out of the garden. She was not invited to the party. She was the bad one, but actually she was the one that was reflecting, that she reflects ourselves back to us. And that can be so uncomfortable, and then we say, no, I don't want that here. But actually, this is the great shadow work, isn't it? To really to say to this shadow, like, wow, you're here, and now what do I do with that? It's not, and the more we keep pushing it to the outskirts, it has power to destroy whole worlds. And we really need to work with that energy and love it and acknowledge it, bring it home, rather than separate and push away that great power actually as well that is ours, which is our Shakti, which is our life force, our Kundalini. So yeah. Whew. Let's take a breath. So yeah, Venus is in trine to Mars as well, and I love that. And that Mars is also in trine to Neptune. So we've got a nice little trine happening there. Um, and Pluto is in trine to Uranus, and Uranus is in trine to Vesta in Virgo. So we've got a couple of big grand trines going on. And I love that. It's like there's in all the challenge, in all of this, like the grand cross energy as well, and like the T squares and the chaos and the challenge and the tension, there's also energy of like innovation, of devotion, of transformation, of balance and harmony within our connection with each other. Mars in trine to Venus is like it's harmony in our relationships. In trine to Neptune, it's like creating that how we will want to relate, that's in alignment with our dreams and our highest ideals and aspirations. So yeah, there's a big bunch of challenge, but I think the challenge is like in really honoring and acknowledging those wounds and embracing them. That feels like the challenge, because there could be a lot of conflict coming in. There could be a lot of eruptions happening, with Mars in this T square as well to the full moon. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance, isn't it? I'm just going to quickly look at the last quarter moon in Cancer. So that will be at 3 degrees of Cancer. So the full moon will be happening at the end of Pisces here, and then we'll be coming over Uranus and Jupiter and Mars, and then it will come to its last quarter. So as it's in its last quarter, it's going to be in a lovely trine with Venus, who's just on the cusp of Scorpio there, which is so lovely. And making a trine twos at the North Node. Yeah, it looks like the North Node. Oh, and Neptune as well. Yeah. So there's an energy here for the last quarter moon of really coming home. And it feels like with this watery trine energy, it's very psychic, very sensitive. So we may be feeling like we want to be at home, we want to be in our nest, we want to be exploring our feelings and feel like really emotionally secure after all of that which has been moving around this potent full moon. This last quarter moon in Cancer really feels like a time of integrating, of really, like coming into this completion of all of that energy, really, integrating the whole of this eclipse season. So if we can, around the 24th, really taking some space to really come home to ourselves, to rest, to listen to this inner voice and all of that which is coming through. And we've also got this grand trine with Uranus and Pluto and the South Node and Lilith and Vesta. So this is a very, like, we're devoted now with Vesta. She's bringing this inner flame, this inner warmth towards like this healing of our past, healing of the trauma, healing of the wounds, and we will find like this devotion to ourselves, this devotion to our body and our well-being, and how we can come together to, with the energy of Mercury still in trine to Saturn, you know, to really write out these new plans, to write the books, to write the schedules, to communicate, to have meetings with those who are in alignment with, you know, the balance. Mercury will be in Libra then as well. So that's really lovely. So Mercury would have moved into Libra, Venus has moved into Scorpio. So there's a few shifts around this time of the last quarter moon. So yeah, Venus will be coming into her sensuality, her sensuality, and yeah, like she could be really uncovering as well, like from a psychological perspective, you know, like she may be tying together, you know, all of the patterns and the cycles that have been moving through our psyche through our lifetime or through our past lives. And so by the time of this last quarter moon, you know, Venus will be really, really connecting to that which has been hidden and hopefully creating a sense of emotional security with the moon and creating safe boundaries for ourselves to really to dream into, you know, what it is that we do want to create, and really connecting to our sense of love and inside of ourselves and our love for what is important to us, what do we value, using the energy of the water to create, you know, because the water is the womb as well. It's the inner waters and the kidneys, and how we can come into celebration of that water and deep, deep reverence and respect for that water. Yeah, and then I haven't brought up the chart for the new moon, but the new moon will be in Libra, and I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but I will jump back and do another report for that for you in a few weeks' time. So I'm hoping that some of that is helpful for you all. I'm hoping that you enjoyed it. And yeah, please do reach out if you would like any more information about anything, if you'd like a reading, or if you're really interested in astronomical astrology. Yeah, you can jump over to Radical Astrology on Facebook. It's a beautiful community of astrologers who are using a more astronomical or true sidereal kind of perspective. So you're so welcome to join over there as well. So that is all from me. Blessed full moon, all hail Eris. Beautiful goddess Eris, and yeah, respect to the waters and giving thanks for Atlas, beautiful comet coming into our awareness to connect us back to the celestial spheres and the astronomy and the philosophy and maps of the world and how we are all connected. Blessed be, blessed full moon, and I'll see you soon.